and just give me a hand signal when we're on. Oh, thank you. Okay, good. I got it. Hi, I'm Coffee Kevin, and I still don't have that down right. I this is an important segment to me. On impulse over the weekend, I was at a large supermarket, and I realized I was in the. I always check the coffee aisle, but I don't usually buy coffee there, and I wouldn't say never, but not very often. And I'm probably going to guess here that most of our audience, but not all, you don't either. And I thought, am I being too much of a snob? Before there are a lot of cards and letters and posts about that. I really don't think of myself as a snob, and I don't like to be. I don't like that aspect. I'll give you another love that I have. I love music, and I love classical music particularly. I cannot stand the attitude that I read sometimes in classical music publications and websites that really, I love the passion for music, but I do not like the concept that we have to make ourselves think we're better in other ways. I mean, there's so many ways I know I'm not better. So many things that no one can be an expert in everything, and no one can know everything. So I really want to emphasize that my enjoyment of coffee does not come from thinking that I'm above other people. However, I like to have the best coffee, and I really enjoy the flavor of the best coffee. That said, I've also expressed many times over the years that how you brew coffee is as important as the coffee you're drinking. It's just identical to if you are into music. What you're playing is of course the most important thing. Whether you're playing it, meaning you have an instrument and you're playing it, or you're playing back a recording of some great violinist playing a piece. But then how you reproduce that recording is equally important to it. And the same thing for coffee. And, I've had several discussions with folks in the coffee business, people that I admire, about this very subject. And invariably I have roasters, and sometimes they say it on camera to us. Well, it's important to use a good coffee brewer, but if you can't get a good coffee brewer, still you should buy our coffee because you'll notice a difference, and you'll get most of that enjoyment. To which I oftentimes look incredulous because I don't agree with that. I don't think that's true. I think you. So, point is, I on impulse bought some Hills Brothers. It looked good. Well, it looked like Hills Brothers, and it was a brand that I happened to be familiar with because it was, once my mother stopped grinding at home. Yes, and I hate to out her, but she did not. Guess I'm grind shaming her a little bit here. She didn't grind at home anymore, and she did. We had a KitchenAid grinder, which was, I thought, pretty good grinder, and she also ground at the grocery store. A&Ps at the time all had grinders, but Hills Brothers was her brand after that time, and so I'm very familiar with Hills Brothers coffee, at least the flavor of their main blend. And I believe this is a recreation of. Can we get a close up on this, Mike? On that. Oh, there you go. You got it. Sorry. whole bean. It is in a whole bean form, and my first concern as well. Is it going to be fresh? Is it going to be properly packaged and everything? Is there? After this many years, I'm not sure, and it's far from an A/B comparison. I'm unable to do an A/B comparison with the coffee that they had at one time. And Hills Brothers, I think, though it is, I think it's pretty close. I squeezed the bag to sniff it. I certainly smelled what I remember, and it frankly has to be different beans because at one time, if I recall, I thought Hills Brothers was actually owned or had investment from the Brazilian coffee, was owned by I believe the Brazilian Coffee Federation. Am I right about that? Anyway, they had some sort of influx and ownership, and that is unlikely. I think they use, anyway, I'm sure they buy whatever beans around the world. I'm sure they have, though, a prescription for it. Just like Dunkin' Donuts does. We talked about Dunkin' Donuts the other day. Got me thinking. I said, well, let's try this. So I did buy some. I brought it home. I brewed with it, and I'm brewing it today. I've got to test the Brim coffee maker anyway, and I want to try a variety of coffees. And there are a couple of things we're going to figure out that you'll be able to tell. Well, one is the coffee fresh, reasonably fresh enough to warrant a place, should you like the taste of it, and it contributes to its taste too. I mean, we believe in freshness here. We believe in bean coffee. If I can, I prefer beans, and I prefer to grind them. Fresh grinding. Is the coffee fresh enough to be worthy of that? Because if beans get old enough, you can fresh grind them, and they still will be what's called dead. And dead means they don't foam up at all, and dead means you don't, when you brew, there is a pretty solid objective definition of what dead coffee means. And so anyway, let's take a look at this couple of things, and let's see what the brewing instructions are first. And Mike, if you can also get a close-up of that. I know you had... we did play with this, and we were able to get that. All right, and then do you need me to do anything? I think because if you get it on camera, I can actually, and closer, I can actually read it off the camera, and everyone can see it. There we go. Here we go. Okay. For the freshest flavor and aroma, always grind. Here we go. Are we too close? Yeah, that's okay. Back up just a little bit. Or, yeah, the camera needs reading glasses. This is an old camera. It's a... You want me to back this up? Oh, there we go. Okay. For the freshest flavor and aroma, always grind Hills Brothers coffee, whole bean coffee, immediately before brewing. There you go. For each serving, add 1 tablespoon of ground coffee for every 6 ounces of fresh water. Adjust amount of coffee to your taste. Well, that we're sure going to do, because that formula is a little weak for me. To maintain the freshness of your coffee, simply reseal the package and store in a cool, dry place. Well, okay. 1 tablespoon of ground coffee is usually 5 to 6 grams. Maybe it's 6 to 7, but let's just charitably say. I think 2 tablespoons of ground coffee is right. I think that, and that means 10 to 11 grams, and that's what we're going to use. I'm going to make using Gold Cup standards, which is 1 liter, 1 liter of coffee to 55 grams of ground coffee. And I'm going to grind it for drip grind, the same way I would. I'm not going to cut it any slack. I'm going to assume that it's a good bean blend, and I'm going to brew it that way. So let's try it. And I've already ground it, and because I didn't want to take the time to grind on camera, and I didn't want to lug my grinder down here. Let's look at this, by the way, first. Can we get a shot of the coffee, actually, Mike? Just give them a close-up shot, and there we go. Yeah, that looks pretty good, by the way. It's as far as the roast goes, and it says it's smooth, full-bodied flavor with subtle notes of chocolate. And taste of San Francisco, premium whole bean coffee. I think, there we go, that's nice. And you can see the grind I've got is what ubiquitous drip grind. And, but not too dark and not too light. I think that would be what I would call a medium roast. In fact, it says medium roast on the package. Okay, let's take a look at this, and then that is 55 grams. Okay, and then we put it in here. And, oh, that's right. Can you hand me that? I'm sorry to ask that. It's a little out of my reach. Thanks. And let's see. All right. 1 liter. And I'm just right to the optimum mark on the coffee brewer. All right. And then let's let it go. Now, oh. We had a long prep today, but the one thing we didn't do during that prep was plug in the coffee maker, and there we go. It's plugged in now. Okay. And we'll be able to. I've got a thermometer and just run the Brim through its paces. So, but it's there's no reason in the world that this shouldn't be a reasonably good. They make no claims, by the way, for direct trade or anything. How they bought the beans, it doesn't say anything about really anything. But frankly, those are marketing decisions. That doesn't tell me. One thing I've learned is just because it isn't on the bag doesn't really mean anything. They're a company that has a product out, and we're trying it and we're evaluating it based on taste. And actually, what we're going to want to see. Oh, there we go. Yeah, and that's how you can see that shower head is a really useful shower head. If we can point out things about the brewer, is like, oh, well, let me also get a. Let's see if we can get a. Where are we at on? There we are. We're already 195. I don't know if there's any way to get on this camera over here, the other side camera, if we can get the show thermometer. There we go. There we are. 190, 196, yeah. And since we're testing it, 197, comfortably, 198, comfortably in the Gold Cup, 199. Yeah, and that's its job. So, okay. Meanwhile, yeah, if you can get that, show that foaming, Mike, on the other camera. On the other, there we go. Yeah, see it, and that's very important. Yeah, it does. It does show it nicely too. By the way, we were wondering before we were shooting. See, that is an indication of coffee that's fresh. So I don't I will say this: I have no idea when it was roasted. It does not have a roast date on it. It has a best by date of 2 February 4th of 2020, and that tells you that it's. I'm going to guess a year. I'm just guessing a year. So 2/2/19. That's now it's 5. So it's 3 months ago, 90 days ago. That's pretty good packaging. That means there's been some effort. I'm going to guess nitrogen flush packaging, and in a good valve lock bag. So it's a very good sign that the coffee has been roasted and packed. Now it's a question of how to keep it fresh. And they are selling you 1.5 pounds at a time. And how do we keep it fresh? Well, I have the coffee freshness system, so that's a no-brainer for me, because that allows us to, every once in a while, just inject it with CO2, and it will keep it fresh as when I got it. But you can see in that, if you're on that close-up again, it's still foaming. So I don't have any concerns about freshness with this coffee. It was one of the concerns. Now, does that alone mean it's a really good coffee? No. We're going to have to taste it and cup it. And cupping is subjective. So, and I'm only going to be able to tell you if I like it. It's a blend, by the way. One of the things I mentioned before, too, is blending is kind of a lost art in the world of coffee, I think. Most craft roasters don't blend at all because the market is, well, they do. They may have a blend. They may have what they call an espresso blend or a breakfast blend. That's the only blends they have. I wish that they would put as much effort into their blends. Frankly, a company like Hills Brothers, or Dunkin' Donuts for that matter, their stock and trade is blends. That's blend is what their market is about their blend. The blend is 2 reasons for this. It's the one that they can afford to do on that mass of a level, supply to and find the coffees. This has to be a rotating blend. There's no way they're getting exact amounts of coffees from varietal regions that taste the same. So they have to be experts at establishing a blend, coming up with options that are in their cost parameters, and then maintaining that way. So that is here we go. It's done. And now here we have, and then let's take a look at the Brim again. How do we get a shot? Is there a way to get that? Is that it? That looks pretty good. Why don't you just go in on it, Mike? There we are. Well, it's certainly all got soaked with water. There's no doubt the grounds were underwater. One of the challenges, by the way, of super fresh coffee or fresh coffee is that when it settles, it may not be as flat. Or I've had other, but it seems like there's a lot of, frankly, it's pretty like it's acting like it's a very fresh coffee. So kudos to them for packaging it, but it makes it more difficult. It makes it more difficult to brew in a way. So anyway, that's. But it certainly all got wet, all got soaked. I mean, from a point of view of will it affect the flavor? No, I don't think so. I think it'll be fine. All right, and then let's. There is actually a stand for that filter basket, and of course I left it upstairs. So let me pour. By the way, just a comment about the Brim. You know, some of you may or may not like it's open like this. Some people really like a cap at the belief that they're evaporating, their coffee's evaporating. I have not noticed any evaporation or any flavor change from it when brewing, but I just wanted to point it out. It's designed just like a Chemex would be to sit there open. I think it's extremely attractive. This silicone collar, by the way, works really well. It's warm, but it's never burning hot. And then, okay, here's our cup of coffee. Nice. The aroma's good. It's to me, it's brewed properly. Would I back off on the brewing at all, or the grind, in order to make it less strong? I'm not getting any inordinate bitterness. It's certainly a blend. It's certainly still a little hot for me, by the way, and that does make a difference in cupping because above a certain temperature, you get a masking of certain flavors. The complexity is missing that I will get. Whatever complexity it has is going to still yet to come forth. But I would say it's a good, certainly inoffensive. Is that damning with faint praise? Is there something supremely distinctive that just jumps out to me? No, to be honest. But again, I wouldn't say that this is I wouldn't charge for this as a cupper, this evaluation. It is just to give you an idea what's available. First of all, the most impressive thing is it's fresh. I bought this at a chain store. I think I bought it at Walmart. I had to visit a number of stores on Saturday, and everywhere that I go to, if it was Target, it was the same thing, but I think it was Walmart. And I just get, I can tell you, I'm a little surprised at how much foaming it did, at how fresh it is. That's a good thing. I was happily surprised at the roast. It's not too light. It seems like it's properly roasted. I didn't notice any tipping, any signs of mass bad roasting, of using ancient roasting equipment. It seems like it's properly roasted for the coffees. There's a little bit of, well, I'd be speculating this, if it's pre or post blending. Did I see any beans in there that were definitely roasted darker than the others? No, I'm going to guess it's pre-blended, but I'm not sure. And why does that make a difference? There's some more complexity that you can achieve by roasting the coffees separately, the different varietals, and then blending them. However, that said, there are a lot of roasts that are pre-blend. It's not necessarily a mark against it. Now we're getting into the range where there's some complexity. Yeah. Is this a decent cup of coffee? It is. I would say I would not hesitate to get this and say this is a good cup of coffee that I could enjoy. Again, however, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out a lot of the folks that I know that I hang out with and talk about coffee with, part of the fun for them is enjoying the tastes of tasting the different geography. And are you getting that with this? No, you're not. It's. I'm going to guess it's at least half a dozen different varietals mixed together. Beyond the point that I'm getting any one country or region. It is, in effect, its own signature taste. If you like that signature taste, it could be argued that it's a good coffee for you. I would say, I had Dunkin' Donuts recently. I had this. I would say Dunkin' Donuts blend to me has a little more of that, if I could be so bold, more distinction to it than I'm tasting here. Again, this is a quick analysis. I certainly wouldn't rule out, though, this coffee. It certainly is worth. I'll tell you this much, hands down, it's worth brewing in a coffee maker like this. It's that good, and it is a good cup of coffee. It's not, maybe we're living in an age where there aren't a whole lot of bad coffees. I hope that's so. I am happily surprised, and I purposely haven't brought up price. You can look and compare prices. It's certainly less expensive than a good local roaster would charge. On the other hand, yes, there are some compromises involved. You have to decide, would this be my primary go-to coffee? No. But as far as being served this, if I were served this in a restaurant and it was brewed properly, and restaurants are notorious for not brewing coffee properly, in my opinion, and not taking coffee seriously. I believe that's going to be true until I hate to say this because it's not ideal from an industry point of view, but the moment coffee's away from the province and the ego of the chef, and it is, it's not going to be taken seriously in restaurants. I don't care. I know we buy intelligentsia or something like that. Coffee, well, good for them, but it's never treated seriously in my experience. I can taste a little, I suppose, a little harshness, but overall, it's certainly a good cup of coffee, and I think this would be, I wouldn't use it to show off my coffee making prowess, but I would say if it came to me and someone said to me, I have Hills Brothers and I'll fresh brew it for you. I have some coffee that I brewed this morning, and it's several hours later. I would have them brew this fresh, and I would say it would taste better to me. So anyway, it's interesting. Keep my taste buds honest, and meanwhile, I've been doing some research into fundraising and how we're going to set it up. We want to find a way to give you a bunch of options of coffee cons and really have you vote on them in effect with your fundraising, and then give you an option of the venues and the cities that, in effect, there's a competition, and we want several cities more than we can do, and then we'll do them if see the top four. We will promise to do the top four. If we can do the top five, I'd love to do that, but if we raise enough money. But we have to be able to raise the money to pay the deposits on the venues and to set them up and then tell our exhibitors, because if we tell our exhibitors we've got 5,000 people here, 5,000 people there, the exhibitors will come, and it will be a no-brainer for them. The challenge for exhibitors is if they don't either question or don't know for sure we're going to have enough people there to warrant their You understand it's a cost to them. And a people cost too. But they'll go there. And CoffeeCon, I believe in CoffeeCon. I just got a message from someone today Austin. I would highly recommend Austin. And I would love to. Austin, the very first year of CoffeeCon, we looked at Austin. And at the time, we had some presenters that we were working closely with, and the opinions were overall as well. It's a little early for Austin. We don't think you're well known enough, et cetera, et cetera. So, we'd love to send us your suggestions too about the cities, even to offer, because the way it works with funding platforms, it looks like none of them have it where you're going to be able to just invest in one city or in all, but it has to be one funding platform, and it's going to have all the cities, and what will be is the top cities will prevail, and then you'll be able to choose a ticket from that city. So let's see what we can come up with. But we advanced quite a bit over the weekend, and we're getting close to where we'll be posting. And I hope. And anyway, I just wanted to give you an update on that. Meanwhile, check out Coffee Companion. I still have a lot of reviews. I have a lot of reviews, or library of reviews over the years. There will be a review of this machine soon, and I also have another review that I've been saving. I don't know why. I should have posted it already, but that's going to go up there soon too. And meanwhile, I'm Coffee Kevin. By the way, we have changed our header on our website. The updates on the event will come in video form just on one of these first. So actually, the best place to keep tabs of us is on Facebook, and our website is about to get a refresh, but that's not happened yet. Right now, stay on Facebook and keep watching us live, and then we're going to be launching things on YouTube as well. But right now, Facebook's the best for us. All right, I'm again Coffee Kevin. Thanks for tuning in, and I have another event or show coming up on Thursday. I'm going to be talking to Jerry Tallman. Jerry is a professor. I worked with him on Mission Coffee Can, but he's just opened a coffee lab, and I'm going to give you a little guided tour of the coffee lab, have Professor Tallman take us around and show us there, and he's going to be our guest here in the studio and talking about what he's all about. And he's great fun. I've traveled with him to coffee producing regions, and he's always a welcome guest at Coffee Con. Talk to you soon.